Decisions. It's time for a little wander out the paddocks. But what do we go for? Do we go techno? And it don't get much more techno than the old Delta Wolf. That thing is a beast. Or do we go traditional and go for this Revere? Really is a stunningly handsome rifle, the Revere. It's got to be said. It is a beautiful thing to look at. You wouldn't think the same company makes both of those rifles, really. They're so different. It's ridiculous. One of them's an absolute modern marvel of technology and a beast. And the others are really traditional. But nonetheless, with a lot of hidden technology. The Huma Reg and all the rest of it. It's difficult to know what to go for. Got them laid out side by side. You can see here how completely different these things are. These are the two really kind of represent, I suppose, the way that air gunning is going at the minute. You've got air rifles that are going all tactical, pushing things to the extreme tactical wise, add-on bits here, there and everywhere that you can customise. You know, rails, butt plates, monopods. They've got attachment points all over them for different things, Picatinny attachments for everything. They're just really, really going, you know, carbon fibre, ABS, all sorts of different bits and pieces on them. And then at the other extreme, you've got the far more traditional styled air rifles that are still hanging in there and still dead popular as well. That's the thing that's never failed to amaze me, that the fact that these traditional rifles are still as popular now as they ever were. There's something about them, they've just got a timeless quality to them. Top quality walnut stock fit to a really good accurate action. You know, all the technology in the Huntsman Revere, really it's all hidden away inside. There's nothing really there that particularly shouts out to you that it's a thoroughly modern rifle. You know, you could be looking at an air rifle really that's come from 10-15 years ago, really, apart from on the insides, of course, where things have changed considerably. Different valving, regulators, in the case of the Huntsman, side levers have taken over, of course, but the basic looks of the rifle have stayed exactly the same. And they look fine, and they've never looked finer than with a fairly basic telescopic sight on top of them. Just beautiful looking things. There's an ageless quality with a decent walnut stock, even over a laminate. Laminate's very nice, but there's something about a really, really top quality walnut stock on a traditional air rifle. And then you've got the Delta Wolf, probably the ultimate expression in tactical rifles. Add-on bits to your heart's content, change barrels, change calibers, different length barrels, inbuilt chronograph, electronic shot counter. It's just everything's just there. Electronic trigger, electronic valving. Incredible things, the way that they've gone. Just amazing rifles. And even more amazing, the most amazing thing of it is that they're both from the same manufacturer. I can't think off the top of my head of a manufacturer that makes two such polar extremes. A rifle quite as traditional as the Huntsman, and with the pedigree of the Huntsman, and then a rifle like the Delta Wolf with all its bang up to date electronic wizardry and circuit boards and inbuilt chronographs and electronic readouts, electronic shot counts and all the rest of it. I can't think of a single other manufacturer that produces two rifles that are so just the sort of polar opposite extremes of the air rifle world at the moment. And I sometimes sit here and looking at them and thinking, which one do I actually like the best? Do I prefer the more traditional style, or do I prefer the tactical? I mean, in all fairness, they both shoot just as well as one another. Certainly do when I'm shooting them anyway. I can get incredible results with that Revere. It's a phenomenally accurate rifle. And the Delta Wolf is something else. It's just, shooting the Delta Wolf just makes you smile. It just does. Anyone that's not shot a Delta Wolf, it just makes you smile. It's just really, really good fun. It's just a fantastic thing to shoot. It's not just an air gun. It's just really, really good fun because of what it does and the way it does it. It makes getting good results a lot easier, in all fairness. Even I can get good results, you know, even on a windish day, lying down in the mud or on a mat out in the field when it's freezing cold, pellets straight out the tin, no faffing about, still get good results, 50, 60 yards. It's just epically lovely and so different. These two rifles are so different. This Revere though it is beautiful. You know, this is the sort of gun that you'd have on show really. You could have that in your gun cabinet, hanging on the wall. Look at it. The checkering on it's like a top quality shotgun. Just the little finishes, little caps on it. That beautiful shaped walnut stock is a thing of absolute beauty. And this side lever, at first people not so sure about these. I must admit I do prefer it without the biathlon lever, and I have taken mine off because I did feel that perhaps detracted from the looks of the rifle really. So I took it off, and in all fairness it makes absolutely no difference whatsoever to the way it shoots or how quick it is to cycle the magazine. I find it just as easy to shoot without that biathlon lever, and I think it makes the rifle look far more streamlined. It's just a thing of absolute beauty. It really is. It's a super little rifle, and it's so small. That's the other thing that came as a bit of a shock to me when I opened a box to get this out. How small it is. I mean, I've shot them before, the earlier versions of it, but I'd forgotten how compact a little rifle is. And it's so accurate. Really, really nice. And then this thing is ridiculous. I mean, in all fairness, it's not very photogenic, I don't think. You don't get the full, it's actually quite a smart looking, I mean, it looks pug ugly in most photographs. It always looks like the back end is incredibly bulky and heavy and out of sync with the rest of it. But it's only when you actually pick one up and get it out of its case and look at one in the flesh that you realise actually it's a very, very smart looking rifle. And it's really nicely balanced visually as well as in regards to the way it shoots. It's nicely balanced visually when you actually get one in the flesh. I'm mega impressed with this. I really am. It's a lovely, lovely thing. And these PRS attachments that I've got on it, just so smart. It's really, really impressed with it. This is so neat, this has made life a lot easier, got to say. Especially now as I've actually fiddled around with it and got it set up properly for myself. I had it too high before, so I've dropped it a bit. And I've got the shoulder position really good now on it. And I've just raised that just a fraction. The PRS razor rail, only a fraction, but it makes all the difference when you're lining up. It just makes it so much more comfy. And this rail's brilliant. This is I know I keep saying it, but this is a a pre-production rail. They have beefed this up considerably since this one, but this is really nice. It's really handy to be able to shove that fixing point for your bipod from the middle of the rifle where it's none too stable right out to the front. Makes a hell of a difference. And I'm waiting for a tripod to come which will fit onto this Arca rail. Now that's really going to be smart when that arrives. I've got a carbon fibre tripod on its way. And that'll really be neat, that will, especially for like more sort of hide shooting, you know, when I'm off shooting squirrels over the feeders, or shooting those feral pigeons. Something like that on a tripod, pardon me, will be incredible. That'll make a world of difference to this thing. Really smart that'll be. So 2 totally different rifles. Couldn't get more different, really. I love them. And there are those, of course, that say, well, what can a 2.5 or 2,400 quid air rifle do that my 100 quid air rifle can't do? And there is some truth in that, to be fair. I mean, I've seen good Springer shots, lads that can shoot a Springer really well, and some of them give them a TX200 or a HW97 or something like that. They can produce groups probably as good at 40-50 yards as I can with this. And you sort of sit there and you might, purely from a practical perspective, look at it and think, well, what's the point in spending all that money when I can buy a Springer and do that? The difference is that this makes it so much easier. It really does. It just makes it so much easier. And it's such good fun. It's fun. And I think that's what we tend to forget sometimes. People get obsessed purely with the performance aspects of things. But let's be honest with ourselves. Most relatively well made and put together PCPs now are capable of producing accuracy at 40-50 yards that's better than than the average shooter will ever hope to achieve. They just can. The guns now outshoot the shooter. They just do. The difference is that there's a fun factor in things. And you shouldn't ever forget that. Air gunning, at the end of the day, it's about having fun. You know, that's what it's all about. It's all about having fun and enjoying yourself. And it's like people people go out and buy a dead expensive sports car. Why? Most roads in Britain, the average speed limit's 30 mile an hour. Even on the motorway, it's 70. So what do you need a high-powered sports car for that can do like 170 mile an hour? You don't. It's pointless. But people love them. They love the way they sound. They love the way they look. It's fun. And that's what people forget sometimes in air gunning. It shouldn't just be about the performance. Yes, obviously you want an air rifle that can shoot really accurately and print those little groups at 40-50 yards or beyond. And yes, you want it to be as near to the legal limit as is permitted. You know, and yes, you want it to be well made. But once all those considerations are out the way, you shouldn't ever forget that really you should still be having fun. And it's the same with hunting. You know, people might say, oh, you know, I can catch as many rabbits with a 200 quid air rifle. It's true. You probably can. But there again, having said that, I can catch probably 4-5 times as many rabbits with a pocket full of 10p wires. You know, and them things are there 24 hours a day waiting to catch a rabbit. And if you know what you're doing with them, absolutely lethal. Kill rabbits cleanly. And it's just, you know, a far more effective way. Is it fun? Not really. You chuck them 3 or 4 times a day and take the dead rabbits out of them. It's nowhere near as much fun as going out shooting an air rifle. But, you know, that's the point. It's not all about purely practical, you know, facts and figures written down on a piece of paper. Yes, you want your gun to be able to print decent, good quality groups. And I think it's fair to say that if you're spending probably over 600-700 quid these days, most air rifles will outshoot their owners by a long way. I know both of these easily outshoot me. You clamp these in a vise and take the shooter out the equation. Both of these will print tiny groups at 50-60 yards, groups that I will never be able to obtain. And it's true of a lot of air rifles. So at the end of the day, you're not just buying them purely based on performance. You're buying it because of the way you like the looks of it, because it's fun. And that's why they make such totally different air rifles, because some people like the look of the walnut stocked traditional air rifle. People love them. A lot of people spend ages messing about oiling the stocks and getting them gleaming and all the rest of it. And some people like the tactical look, and they'll pimp these out with all sorts of things stuck on them because it's fun and they enjoy it. And that's what air gunning is all about at the end of the day. And yes, the Delta Wolf is expensive, but at the end of the day, so are an awful lot of other hobbies that are a damn sight more expensive than air gunning. You can buy a shotgun for 70, 80 grand. I've seen shotguns that were like 40, 50 grand. My mate had one. He had an English shotgun that cost him about 40 odd grand. I thought he was off his head, but there you go. But, which makes sort of 2.5 grand on an airgun seem like a comparative pittance. In fact, in the shotgun world, 2,500 quid is not really a lot of money. Alright, you can buy dirt cheap ones, but a lot of shotguns, a lot of even average shotguns are up in the couple of thousand quid. So even the most high-end air guns, it's not a particularly exorbitant amount of money to spend on a hobby that can bring such fun and such enjoyment. So don't be too quick to criticise really nice rifles, and don't be too quick to say, oh, but my £200 Chinese air rifle can do the same thing. That isn't entirely the point behind buying a top-end air rifle. A lot of the time, you're not buying it purely because of its performance, because there are guns that you can get that are a bit cheaper that have got the same performance. You're buying it for the fun and the enjoyment of it, and also those other little things that are thrown in, especially the Delta Wolf. It really does. It is a bit of a standalone beast, this thing, really. Even compared to Daystate's other electronic rifles like the Red Wolf, this is more technical still. And a lot of people enjoy that, and I do. I've had no end of fun with these rifles as I bought it. It's just brilliant. So there you go. So don't forget, when you're out shooting, no matter what you're shooting, doesn't matter what it is, enjoy it, have fun. Don't be massively bogged down in performance and facts and figures and all the rest of it. If you're having fun and you're enjoying yourself, then that's all that counts. If you're hunting, obviously you want to make sure that you're shooting within your capabilities. Doesn't matter what you're shooting, you should always shoot within your capabilities. So if an expert gets hold of this Delta Wolf and can shoot accurately out to 60 yards and put pellets under a 10p piece all day long, if you can't, and you can only manage that with this rifle at 30 yards, then you should only be hunting at 30 yards. It doesn't matter what anybody else can do with it, and it doesn't matter what the gun can do. It's what you can do with the gun that counts. And you've got to remember that. Just because the gun itself can put all those pellets under a 10p piece at 60, 70 yards, even sub 12, and some people can do that with these things, doesn't mean that if you can't do that, that just because the gun can, you should be trying it. You shouldn't. Always shoot within your capabilities. And that's an important thing to remember, especially for hunting. On the range, it doesn't matter. Have a little punt, have a bit of a laugh. If you want to stick a target out 65 yards and try and hit it, then no harm done. But out in the hunting field, please remember, shoot within your capabilities. There's nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm not the best shot in the world. I limit myself when I'm hunting to round about 40 yards, and that's in still air and not rested on something. And I know that there's people that can better that by miles, but you've got to recognise what your ability is. Thanks for watching.